guys, I hope you're enjoying these short videos again. I'm having a blast doing them. I don't get any money off them, but they're a lot of fun. And if you want to watch them on either YouTube, Rumble, or now Twitter. I load directly on Twitter. If it's a subject I can't talk about on YouTube, let's say COVID, it will be on Rumble or Twitter only. But thanks a lot, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. And today I want to analyze a comment by Ben Shapiro. And I think Ben is a smart guy. He's pretty eloquent. And he did a defense of the Ukrainian war spending because a lot of conservatives are now opposed to it. And I thought I'd break it down. He wrote this on Twitter, and I'm going to include it here, so I'm not taking it out of context, but I want to give you a way to respond to his argument. So let's dig into the tweet. It's a long tweet he had, and I think we have 3 different parts. So here we go. All right, and I'm going to read this out loud because some people just listen to the video. This is Ben Shapiro. Ukraine is becoming a litmus test for Republican candidates because of the bad faith argument that if you think we must fund Ukraine in its war against Russia, you don't care about American poverty. This is wrong. The two issues are not connected. First off, pouring money into poverty-ridden areas does not result in prosperity. This has nothing to do with Ukraine. Government spending means prosperity is a lie. Half the people now promoting that lie know it and have spoken out openly against it in the past. You can be skeptical of military aid while still being in favor of entitlement reform. All right, so what Ben Shapiro is doing here, and I think he's targeting this to people like Tucker Carlson, because there's a common refrain: why are we spending money on this war against Russia? So it's a proxy war when we could spend that money in American cities, and American cities are a disaster. And Ben Shapiro's like, aha, see, you shouldn't say that because spending money in the American cities won't necessarily fix it. We got to think of this better. But see, what Ben's doing here, he's sort of doing a false dichotomy. He's saying either we got to spend money in Ukraine to fight against Russia, or we got to piss our money away in some like midnight basketball to help the youth so they won't commit crime. And I agree, Ben, that is a waste of money. But I reject that those are the only 2 options. There's another option, Ben. You know what the other option is? Yeah, we could keep our money. We could keep it instead of sending it to Ukraine to fight Russia, or instead of sending it to the inner city to do some SJW program, paint the sidewalks the homosexual flag color. We could keep it. We could keep the money in our taxes. See, that's another option, Ben. So it's not one or the other. And I also disagree with Ben that necessarily all government spending is bad. We could spend it on things like fixing the roads. These are practical matters. I would love to see like high-speed trains like they have in Japan. And instead of pissing our money away in this pointless war, we could help improve our infrastructure. So I don't think all government spending is necessarily bad, Ben. I do agree with you. Much of it is wasteful, and if we pissed it away on all these SJW projects, I agree. I agree 100%. But you got to think broader than that, Ben. All right, here's the second part of his post. Second off, the notion that America has no interest in Ukraine is untrue. We have an interest in the Russian military being defanged so they do not invade surrounding nations, thus threatening global supply chains and strengthening American opponents. We have an interest in deterring China from invading Taiwan. But we are now stuck in this weird binary straw man situation in which we are told that we either must fund Ukraine until they win, as long as it takes, without defining winning or as long as it takes, or we must stop the war in Ukraine without defining what stopping looks like. Does it mean withdrawing all aid, thus leading Russia to take Kiev? Well, and some of the stuff here that Ben says is good. Like we really don't have victory defined, and I think Ben is right about that. But it's interesting his comment that we need to defang Russia so they don't invade other nations. Ben, do you hold the same standard for other countries? Do you think we should defang Israel just in case? So make sure that that Israel doesn't invade other nations. And Israel has been pretty aggressive, and we give the most amount of money, foreign aid, until recently because of Ukraine, to Israel. So should we defang the Israeli country? In fact, maybe we should arm the Palestinians. Maybe we should have a proxy war against Israel to defang Israel. Not that we're against Israel, but we got to defang them. No, I don't think Ben would ever say that. Just a wild guess. I don't think Ben would ever say that. So Ben, why do you have this different standard with Russia, that they need to be defanged? And this idea that they may invade other nations as sort of a preemptive war type of thing, and is fundamentally immoral. You can kind of think about morality in the large sense if you think about it in an individual sense, right? So if my neighbor, my rancher that I live near, if I say, oh boy, he's got a lot of guns, I'm kind of scared. Before he attacks me, I should attack him. So in the middle of the night, I go over there and murder him and his family and say, hey, it was preemptive. I had to do it because he could have came over one day and killed me. No, that's immoral. You can't do that. Until they're doing something specific, it's wrong to do this preemptive thing. And this idea that Russia wants to take over Europe or the world is just stupid. I mean, you're just being ignorant, Ben. I don't think Ben is being honest here, because Ben is a smart guy. He knows this does not... Putler woke up one day and just went crazy and wanted to take over the world. Putin has explained this very clearly, what the issue is. The Donbass region is ethnically Russia, so is Crimea. It's historically part of Russia. He had objections to NATO continuing to expand to the east. And we had the same issue when the Soviets put missiles in Cuba. And so it's understandable. You may disagree with it, but this idea that unless we defang Russia, they're going to send tanks through France and then maybe down I-70 in Kansas is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. That's not really what's happening. It's a conflict over territory because of an ethnic dispute, because in the east and in the south of Crimea, those are historically Russian territories. So we don't... The idea that, we got to defang them, otherwise Russia's going to take over the world or something, is just ridiculous. And then his next part is, how do we end this war? And it's funny because Ben talks about straw men, but he's bringing up a straw man like, we'll just end all funding, and then are you okay with Russia taking Kiev? Well, I don't see any evidence Russia wants all of Ukraine. Putin said he doesn't want all of Ukraine. All the people I know that are ethnically Russians, they especially don't want Western Ukraine. That's not their people. So there doesn't need to be this, we just withdraw all aid. We could end the war within 24 hours by just simply saying, okay, what we're going to do, Ukraine, we're no longer going to fund this war of yours. And if we stop funding, they would have to give in. That would be it. Unless you go to the bargaining table. And Russia, I know you want to put it into this too. So what we're going to do, we're going to allow the people in the Donbass regions and Crimea to vote. Do they want to be part of Ukraine? Do they want to be part of Russia? Or do they want to be independent? Now, there's already been such a vote, and they overwhelmingly voted to be part of Russia. Now, you can say, maybe that vote was hacked, or Putin, he cheated. Election fraud. Okay, let's have the UN observers in there, and let's have a redo election, and let's abide by the results. That's self-determination. And I think we could put pressure on Zelensky to agree to that, and I'm sure Putin would be happy with that, and that would end it. It would end the war right there, and I think in an honorable way. Now, yeah, if Russia decides to invade Australia, yeah, that's another matter. Then obviously I would agree with you, Ben, and that would be a war, or even if they invade Germany or something like that. But this isn't the case. This isn't the case, and you're trying to conflate this into something more than it really should be. And lastly, he wrote, what about the position that we have interest in Ukraine, that they do not match the Ukrainian interests entirely, and that we should fund Ukraine so as to prevent their takeover while pushing for a peace agreement that cedes territory to the Russians while granting security guarantees to Ukrainians. All nuance is lost in politics pretty quickly. It is much easier to malign your opponents as uncaring about their fellow Americans, but demagoguery comes at a pretty high societal cost. Well, I'm glad that Ben wrote this, because this is sort of what I'm proposing, is that we do come up a way to partition the land based on not just what we want, but what the people want. Not Zelensky and not Putin, but what the people living there want. Let them vote. That's the self-determination. And let's abide by the vote. I think this is reasonable, and this is what should happen. But we really don't have interest in Ukraine, or we shouldn't. That's 6,000 miles away. Most people can't find it on the map. It's really irrelevant to us. It's not a core interest of the United States. And it's not a conservative value to be going around the world fighting these monsters and becoming engaged in these alliances, these entangling alliances, George Washington called it. And no, I mean, we're friends of liberty everywhere, and that's fine, but we're custodians of only our own. So we need to focus on America. We need to focus on defending our borders, and we're in a bad financial situation, and we got to focus on that. And we just don't have the money to do both. And that's a lot of people, oh, we can do both. No, we really can't. We really can't. We're in a bad situation. It's sort of like you're in a financial problem. Personally, you just can't piss away your money on even trivial stuff. You got to save. And this is the way we need to be in America right now. So where the territory should be in Ukraine, that shouldn't be our interest. I hope you guys like this. Like this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later.